Good evening, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Bhakti Community. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we'll discuss doubt is the door. Step through it, clarity is waiting on the other side. So, really happy and glad to have another session with Vaish, who is a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We have around 13 members on Zoom. People are still dialing in, and Prem Manishta is helping me out in managing social media today. So, good evening, Vaish. Welcome back to help us clear all our doubts.
Thank you very much for such a warm and optimistic welcome. And great to see all of you. Thank you for joining. I've been looking forward to this and looking forward to seeing all of you. It's quite pleasant to have this regular time. I find in any practice that when there's a regular time in which we're accustomed to joining the practice, it helps overcome the mind's resistance, because oftentimes our minds feel that progress is not possible, or something else that's done mindlessly could be more fulfilling. But actually, those like all of you who are regular in practicing bhakti, especially by coming to this program, or not especially by coming to this program, but because you regularly come to the program, there's a way in which, from the consistency of coming, there's gradual progress. And I feel the same way, feeling the sense of purpose by coming here and then taking sections from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, talking about the purpose of life. It's a drip system. My teacher used to say, drops a day, he'd make this motion on his hand, wear the stone away. And in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is what we are referring to when we say Bhakti on, first process is called Shravanam, or hearing. And when it's done so in the association of others who are practicing, and there's some discussion, there's a natural awakening that occurs. And it's quite natural to be in a group. Humans are social, and to discuss those things that we're hopeful of attaining. So those who are interested in advancing in spiritual life can heed the advice of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives us verse that's especially emphasizes what we're doing here. It says, smarantas smarayantascha, when you're with others and remembering the purpose of life and causing others to remember the purpose of life, then there's a natural progression of clearing of the consciousness. Well, with that meandering preface, I will defer to those of you who have joined and would like to introduce somebody. Or if you just had a great day and you'd like to say what was so great about it, please go ahead. If you had a lousy day and you'd like to complain at this time, please feel free. It's all yours.
You can go ahead and unmute yourself or type in the chat box. Operators are on standby.
Our operators are standing by 24 hours a day, just not in a row. But we are available right now to take your calls. Okay, I'll be more specific. Say one thing you're grateful for. You can write it in the chat box and be as specific as possible, because generalities are boring.
I actually, before you ask the second question, I wanted to say that I had a great day today. My day started with I was able to wake up at the time I wanted to, and then was able to complete my sadhana, my reading, and then the work day was also a very good start of the day, and the whole day has been so good. And then cherry on top is this program.
Wow. I like that. There's a section in which Prabhupada, my teacher, says when you're able to make a plan and then follow your plan, there's a sense of happiness because oftentimes we make a plan and then we don't follow it, and then we may feel remorseful that we weren't able to follow it. And for context, the word that you use, Premanishta, sadhana, is a word that is used in various forms. Sadhana means a practice. Sadhya comes from the same root word, means the goal of your practice. Sadhaka means the person who's practicing. And it's all in the same genre, meaning that there's something to be achieved in life. That's actually something we'll talk about today. Life is not a futile journey into an abyss, nor do any of our words or actions go in vain, especially when they're connected to the spiritual practice. Oh, look, we're getting a plethora of utterances of gratefulness. Go ahead, JM. Why don't you announce them?
Yes, Sanskriti says, was able to complete my sadhana even though I slept through my alarm. And then,
Well, what kind of alarm do you have? Sanskriti?
Um, Actually, I forgot to turn up my volume on my phone and um, it rang, but I couldn't hear it.
Well, I just want to make a suggestion, and those of you who heard me go into this before, just bear with me for a minute. The best kind of alarm I found to wake up in the morning is a light, and it's made by Philips. You can get it on Amazon. It's an orb. It's about that round and that thick, and you can set it for the time you want to wake up. Let's say if you want to wake up at 5 a.m. and you set the alarm, it's a light alarm, so it starts up at 4:30, very slightly, just like a sunrise, and then it increases and increases until it gets so bright that the light wakes you up instead of a sound. And I've found it to be very helpful because it's a different experience waking up to an alarm that might jangle your nerves. Plus, it's always on. So, oh, you've got one. Denise has it. Exhibit A. Did you have it before me, or did you get it because I mentioned it so many times?
No, I got it because I heard this story about um, a doctor who was like always depressed in San Francisco, and it was the way he was waking up. So his wife suggested that he change his alarm clock. It was at a conference, a cardiac conference. So he actually switched to Carol King. You get up every morning with a smile on your face, and his whole life changed.
Yeah, it's a big deal how you wake up. It's one of the practices of bhakti to wake up on the right side of the floor um, with some purpose when you get up. Well, great. We should be distributors, Denise. We could go into business. Charles, good to
Good.
see you.
Likewise, likewise, Hare Krishna, Vaisheshika Prabhu. Yeah, my grateful comment, I was saying I'm grateful to you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, for these amazing classes and just how you show up just so consistently. It's so inspiring. And I'm also grateful for this community as well. And wanted to quickly introduce my friend Dion. I see that he joined. He's one of my best friends from undergrad. I've known him for years now. And super sharp guy, computer engineering background, software engineering, could be doing anything, but he's always been a seeker, and trying to learn more about the spiritual side as well. So it's been great learning from him too, and all that he's learned over the years as well. And I'm happy he was able to join tonight.
Welcome, Dion. Great to have you here.
Yeah, glad to be here. Nice to meet you. And thanks for the intro, Charles. Appreciate it.
Where are you?
I'm in Hugo, Oklahoma right now, so I'm out in the country.
Is it nice out there?
Yeah, I mean it's peaceful. It's lots of grass, lots of livestock, cows and horses. But I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, so Yeah.
You gravitate to nice environments, it sounds like. Good
Yeah.
karma.
Yeah.
Nice. Great to have you.
Thank you.
A friend of Charles is a friend of ours.
That's good to hear.
Okay, JM, what else do we have?
We have a few more things. Phil says, grateful for finding Krishna village.
Where did you find it?
Yeah, g'day, Vaish. G'day, everybody.
Hey, Phil.
I found it accidentally. I put in spiritual communities last year, and I wanted to do some volunteer work, and Christian Village came up. So I went to the volunteer program there for a couple of 6 weeks, and I've just got back for a 2-month stay there, and I'm heading back in August. So I sort of feel like it's my second home at the moment. So I'm just loving it, just the people, the service, and just getting right into it. So yeah.
Where is it?
It's sort of it's New South, sort of north of New South Wales in Australia. So near a small town called Murwillumbah, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a big community. That's great. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to imagine it in my mind right now. Well, I'm looking forward to coming to Krishna Village. I want to go there too.
Oh, please do. You'd be more. A few people have you as a mentor there and stuff like that. So yeah, look it up. Christian Village.
Okay. I'll do it
Amazing.
forthwith, right after we get off. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Great to see you. What else, JM?
Then we have Rakesh who said, grateful for hearing about Krishna on Ekadasi day. And
Nice.
Tathagat says, I'm grateful to have friends I can open my mind to and share my thoughts with.
Fantastic.
And Lavanya said, very grateful to be part of this community.
Great.
And Denise says, I was thinking how amazing it is that JM and Y show up each Monday.
Oh. Well, I wish I could say I was here every Monday, but I'm here in heart. JM's always here. Okay.
And Divya says, I was able to join this class early today. Small wins, grateful.
Nice, Divya.
And Charles is looking for the link for the lamp.
Oh, okay. Well, just tell him I sent you.
And Virginia says, I'm grateful to the devotees for embracing me so warmly and so consistently.
Nice, Virginia. Fantastic.
Those
Yeah.
were on the board so far. And we have Kautuk. Please go ahead, Kautuk.
I'm grateful that I received a text from Mary Kay today. She had, I haven't been in touch with her for a long time, so I received a message from her and she has joined after a long time. I want to welcome her. Thank you, Mary Kay.
Welcome, Mary Kay. Great to have you back.
Thank you so much. Great to be back.
Fantastic. Doubt is the door. Subject matter.
Owner just came off mute. I don't know if owner wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, please. Owner, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm not sure why it's calling me owner, but anyway, Krishna's the owner. I'm not feeling great today, so I've had a bit of a heart thing this morning flare up, and my ex has been giving me a bit of pressure, and yeah, I'm just feeling very vulnerable and raw, a bit shaky, but I'm here, and yeah, it might be a bit of a distraction, I think, but that's what's happening for me.
Yeah. Well, it's great testament to your determination to show up when you're not feeling well. There's a Bengali song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he advocates that the practice of spiritual life goes on whether you're happy, sad, up or down. Keep the transcendental vibration going. And it's the real remedy that helps us overcome these things.
And it's not a linear path, except that some days you can tap into Krishna a lot easier than others. And yeah, I guess just today is just a bit of a day or right now.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Mind is the reservoir of all changes. And that's one of the reasons we have this practice called Vaidhi, which means to be very regulated and to show up even when you don't feel like it.
Mm.
Oftentimes, it's in those episodes where you don't feel quite like it and you do it, and then you realize how you're able to rise above it by the transcendental vibration and so forth, that you get the most out of it.
Mm.
But thanks for being here, and we hope you feel better soon.
Thank you for your kindness.
You're welcome. You deserve it. Okay, today's subject, JM, may I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, you're getting a lot of love on the text box here. Okay, so doubt is the door. This is metaphorical, poetical, hopefully interesting. Step through it. Clarity is waiting on the other side. This idea of doubt comes up in many places in the Bhagavad Gita. And when we consider that the mind has a tendency to doubt, one might think that's a negative experience. But, as we'll see in the first slide, that the Srimad Bhagavatam describes how doubting is natural. It's actually the function of the intellect, the intelligence. In the teachings of Sankhya, which literally in Sanskrit means to count or to categorize things, and it's much explained in the Bhagavad Gita, the process, what's called Sankhya Yoga, and also in other aspects of the Bhakti literatures, other sections, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, doubting is talked about, and also the difference between the mind and the intellect. And one of the functions, according to the process of Sankhya, which means identifying the varieties of energies of the world and understanding what their nature is. For instance, our bodies, says Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, are made of gross and subtle material elements. That is, they're inert. That is, they're not conscious, whereas we are conscious. And there's an interesting metaphor and distinction made between the consciousness, us, we are conscious, and the body. The body is called kshetra. And in Sanskrit, that means a field. And we're called kshetragya. Gya means to know something, to be aware of something. And in the Gita, Krishna says, we are kshetragya. We're not the field, but we're the knower of the field. And in counting the different energies in the body, Krishna says there's earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Those are the 8 gross and subtle material elements. But beyond those is a different energy. It's categorically different. Or I'll take it a step further. We are categorically different from earth or water or fire or air or ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. We are the ones who are aware of those elements and their functioning in the body. So Sankhya Yoga means to dissect the energies of the world, become aware of how they're functioning, and to notice that we're different from them. And one of the observations that Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, says that we can derive from this kind of introspection is to notice the human condition. We're in human bodies, but we're not inherently human. We're something beyond being a human. We're in a human body. And naturally, because we have developed intelligence, we seek certainty. We want to find some place that's stable, stability of mind, stability of financial support, stability in relationships, and so forth. And yet, because all those things are unstable in this world, we live with doubt. This is a premise. And another big question for humans is, how do we know what we know? Now, going back to doubt and the human condition. Doubt is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a wisdom literature that teaches Bhakti. It's a function of the intelligence. It's meant for triangulating to come to understand our ultimate identity. And I say ultimate because, again, we're not just a body. We're beyond the body. We leave the body at a certain time. We go into other environments, and we, the consciousness, survive all of that, whereas the body just disintegrates. So the function of doubting is very important. It's not something negative, but it's a tool. And it's meant to bring us to an understanding of the highest purpose of life and how to attain it. So doubting is not necessarily bad, and we'll talk about that a little bit. That comes into the realm of what's called epistemology, and how do we know what we know? That debate has been going on since a time immemorial. Greek philosophers had various opinions, for instance, about knowledge. Where does it lead us? Some people, philosophers, had written extensively and spoken extensively about how knowledge is just a process, it doesn't lead anywhere, that ultimately you can't know anything. Whereas others, like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, said, no, you just haven't gone far enough. Your doubting function and your curiosity to know and the process of trying to understand hasn't come to fruition. And it's not that there's no ultimate goal. And in the system of bhakti, which follows Vedanta, which is a term which designates it as a system of understanding ourselves and the world and our origin, as having an ending point. Because the word Veda itself means knowledge, and Anta means end. So it indicates that the doubting process, the investigative process, or the ways in which we try to understand the world and ourselves should come to an end. That is an ultimate determination and understanding of the purpose of life. And it's not that it's impossible to know anything, or that we're always in the investigative process and there's no ultimate conclusion. So in epistemology, if we break it down into very general terms, or what are knowledge systems? How do we know things? There are three categories. One is called ascending knowledge, the other is called descending, and the third is self-evident knowledge. Let me give you some examples. Ascending knowledge has to do with controlled experiments. We use these to understand how the world around us works. No controlled experiment, no insight into how the world works. And incidentally, the world does work in predictable ways. Otherwise, there would be no purpose to experimenting, because if everything was random, we wouldn't be able to understand anything. There would be no categorical knowledge. Through using our senses and trying to extend them through using tools, try to look at the world and understand it. That's ascending. In other words, we're trying to use our own strength and reach up and make sense of the world, try to make sense of ourselves and so forth. Descending knowledge means to hear from authoritative sources. And we all do this. If you've been to school ever, you accept a specific authority. You hear in history, if you have a history class, you may have a text or a teacher passes on knowledge from those who have written about history, and we hear it. And of course, we mostly, for the most part, we just accept it. Of course, that can be investigated also, and people do write papers challenging various theories and so forth. But we can't go back and test everything ourselves. If you study science, for instance, you go into a laboratory and you're given various formulas and the chart of elements, and you just memorize it. And that's been passed down from previous research, and it's kind of dogma, but if you accept the right authority, that dogma is not necessarily bad because you're accepting knowledge that's been researched properly. In any case, that's what we do in general. Nobody starts over and questions everything. Otherwise, you get what we'll talk about in a minute. It's called infinite regress. You can never rest anywhere or accept any kind of knowledge as final. And the third kind of knowledge is that which is self-evident knowledge. And as an example, of course, we know Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." Can anybody here prove that you're alive? Can you prove it? Nirali gave a thumbs up. Okay, go ahead, prove it. Nirali, do you have any proof that you're alive?
Yeah, I'm breathing, thinking, and listening.
You think, therefore you are. So there's a sense of self-evident awareness. You know that you're awake, for instance, when you wake up from a dream in the morning. And if somebody asks you, how do you know you're awake? You just say, I know. For that matter, someone may ask you, how do you know if you're hungry? Ishan, how do you know when you're hungry?
My stomach indicates it to me.
You just say you're hungry, right? Like, yeah, I'm hungry. And Lijay, how do you know when you're full?
You just know it.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. You just know it. That's self-evident knowledge. When you're hungry, it's like, how do you know you're hungry? I just know I'm hungry. How do you know you're awake? I just know I am. How do you know you exist? I can see it. I sense I am. How do you know the sun's up? How are you going to prove the sun's up? You just know it. It's effulgent enough to reveal itself. And so there's this category of knowledge that's self-revealing. So there's these various means of knowing that are part of any knowledge system. We can see which one they're employing. Like scientism says only empiric knowledge is valid. But that's hard to prove, because how can you be certain that what you're seeing and understanding actually exists? So ascending means we use our own senses to try to understand the world, and we collect that knowledge. And then we have the limits of perception. This is mentioned in the Bhakti literatures. For instance, there's a great philosopher in the practice of Bhakti, in the discipline of Bhakti, who lived about 500 years ago. His name is Jiva Goswami. Subhanga, please go ahead.
Hello, Prabhuji. I hope you're doing well.
Much better now that I saw you. I like your name, makes me happy. Subhanga
Thank you.
Nanashrinam.
I had a question about the self-evident knowledge.
Oh.
What is the basis that the self-evident knowledge is actually true? Because in my dream, I know I'm flying as well. But only when I wake up, I know it was a dream and it wasn't true. So I could be alive, I could be awake, I could have a self-evident knowledge of knowing. I mean, of course, hunger and sleep are basics, but when it comes to subtler aspects of life, how do I differentiate something that should be self-evident but isn't, or how do I know it is true?
Well, there are different states of consciousness, as you mentioned, and the Srimad Bhagavatam mentions we have awakened consciousness, which hopefully we're in right now. And then there's sleeping with dreams, and then there's sleeping without dreams, which is called susupti. And in these various states, we're always conscious. When you awaken from a dream, then you can surmise or ascertain, you think, oh, I was dreaming. So the I is still there. The conscious self is the one who remembers I was dreaming. Within the dream, you may not be fully aware that you're conscious, and in deep sleep, you're conscious of nothing. There's a kind of nothingness there, but you're still a conscious being. But when you come to full consciousness, you can ascertain that I was in a dreaming state and I was in a deep sleep, and you can see the difference. So consciousness can become aware of itself and of its own nature. It's self-luminous. We can also be conscious that we're not the body. For instance, you can, by introspection, you can notice that the body exists, but I'm the observer of the body. And you can notice that the body's going on as if it was a machine, and it is, and that you're the one that's in it. I had a friend who had a stroke, and he described to me how he had this experience when a lot of the body shut off due to the part of the brain shutting off, that he was trapped in a kind of tunnel. And he was aware that, oh, I'm in this body. It's a tunnel-like entity, and I'm within it. But he was still conscious that he was a conscious entity. So then the Bhagavad Gita describes we become more aware of our conscious nature according to the lessening of our conditioning. Let me just set that up a little bit. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes how conditioning in this world is of three kinds, by sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is the modality of clarity. And then there's rajas, which is the modality of action. And then there's tamas, which is the modality of darkness. And these three modalities are mixing constantly. There's combinations and permutations of them. And to the degree that we're in sattva, it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sattvam Yad Brahmadarshanam. To that degree, we can see more clearly our own consciousness. For instance, if somebody's intoxicated, I had this experience once. I went to a wake of a really good friend of mine who had passed away from cancer. And I was at a church in Orinda, California. And I spoke there. And then after the ceremony, I went downstairs and they were serving snacks and things like that. And they were also serving wine. And I just happened to run into an old teacher of mine from high school who knew that I had become a monk at a certain point and had left high school. And she was really interested in my trajectory. I don't think I had seen her for 30 years, but she came over and we started talking. And she was asking about the Bhagavad Gita and the different principles of the Bhagavad Gita. And then I was talking to her and she was very interested. And her boyfriend, whoever it was, came over and handed her a glass of wine. And every time she took a sip of wine, I could detect that she could understand less and less of what I was saying until the alcohol kicked in, and she couldn't get any of it. She had been appreciating the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and the nuance of it, and all that was washed away with a glass of alcohol. Never drink anything you can ignite. And so I could see in that moment, if it was a lab experiment, we would have had anecdotal evidence. Alcohol puts one lower and lower into this state of tamas, or ignorance. And so we can understand less about ourselves and our consciousness when we're in darkness. But human form of life has full potential to rise above tamas, rajas, and come to sattva. And that's partly what spiritual life is. That's why yogis live clean. They're very careful what they eat. They're very careful what they listen to. They're very careful what they look at. Because all of that brings in various modalities into our consciousness. And so when we practice each day, like Denise, was that you, Denise, said you woke up? Oh, you were just showing your alarm clock, but I know she practices in the morning. Who was it who said they had a good morning?
Premanishta.
Oh, yeah, Premanisha. Yeah, she's all happy. And look at all the light coming from her box anyway. Yeah, wake up early. You start with mantra. You start by cleansing your body, your mind, and so forth. The sun rises and you feel, oh, I'm conscious. I'm in a universe. So all that to say that humans can become aware of their own consciousness. And when we trend towards sattva guna, it's much more evident. When we're sleeping, we may not see it, but when we wake up and we're in the mode of goodness, we can also ascertain, yes, I was sleeping. Okay, so in the slides, we perceive reality, but only partially. We may make mistakes because our external senses are limited. For instance, this fellow thinks he sees a snake, and we even think it looks like a snake. But if there was full light on the object that's there, we'd find out that it was actually a garden hose. And he reacted to it by feeling afraid and startled. So there's a way in which our senses being limited, we make mistakes. So we see only part of reality in this world. And the nature of doubt. Doubt creates hesitation, and hesitation blocks movement. It's well known. If you're doubtful about something, you may not take it. Those in doubt usually say no. That's mentioned in reference to people trying to make a sale. Somebody doubts the product you have, they just say no and hesitate. And then when you're able to trust, it enables action. Trust sustains life. So there's a way, for instance, if you're in an intersection and you're about to cross, you trust that the people are going to wait until you cross. Otherwise, you wouldn't move. So there's a way in which the Bhagavad Gita describes how unresolved doubt leads to inaction. And clarity leads to confident action. So one of the purposes of the practice of bhakti is to overcome doubts and to gain clarity about who we are and what the real purpose of life is. And that leads to another conundrum, an interesting dichotomy, which is about blind belief and blind doubt. You might have heard of blind faith. Actually, it was the name of a band back in the 60s. But blind faith is well known. Sometimes people are accused, oh, you're just engaged in blind faith. But there's an equal defect in blind doubt. If something exists and you doubt that it exists, you're going to be equally hindered. So there is a purpose to the intelligence. It's meant to overcome both blind faith or blind belief and blind doubt. And true intelligence means to come through a system to understand and have well-informed faith or well-informed belief, to stair-step oneself up to understand the difference, for instance, between matter and spirit, and to understand oneself. And we have that, we move from doubt to clarity. So the Bhagavad Gita talks about the knowledge system, and it says that we should seek reliable knowledge to resolve doubt so we can act with conviction. Let's take it as an example in our normal lives. If you have an ailment and you wish to overcome it, you might seek advice from someone who can offer you a remedy. That's fairly common, right? I'll take that as a yes, even though I'm hearing it telepathically that you're saying yes. And so, as far as our existential condition goes, there is such a thing as reliable knowledge. And through reliable knowledge, we can resolve doubt. So to recap, doubting is a function of the intelligence. It's there for a purpose. We're meant to doubt to lead us to a source of knowledge that's reliable. And through that sense of by gaining reliable knowledge, then we can come to conviction. So this is called a siddhanta. Siddhanta means to come to understand what something is and also what it isn't. It's a very precise understanding. And as an example, if we have a clear understanding that we are something other than just a body, like our hair isn't us, even our hand isn't us. We have a hand, but we don't say I hand, we say my hand. And there's a way we can become educated and fully aware that we're not our body. That changes how we may apportion our time and what we endeavor for in this lifetime. So when we have a siddhanta, says the ancient wisdom literatures, or a clear idea about who we are and what the purpose of life is, then we would take to a way in which to invest in that which is most important in our lives. So the Bhagavad Gita gives us this kind of clarity by explaining the different energies of the world and who we are and what our relationship is with the world, and then gives us a path that we can follow so that we can realize it for ourselves. And part of that path is to engage in transcendental activities. Part of that is to engage in service. this is one of the recommendations in the Bhagavad Gita, that when you engage in what's called devotional service or offering your work to the Supreme, then there's a sense of clarity, and you rise above the lower modes of material nature by that. Also, hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the system of mantra meditation, which is to hear transcendental sound. This is sound vibration that is from a different realm, and that's experiential. When you hear it, it helps to cleanse the mind of the lower modalities, and one becomes more and more aware of one's existence beyond the body and our relationship with the source of everything, called Krishna. Those are some of the fundamentals that are taught in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere. And I want to see if you have any reflections or questions.
There is a reflection from Mekala. She said, I feel like doubt creates space for learning. If you doubt, there is space there, a question. Questions open a door to propel us forward towards knowledge. In that way, doubt can be a powerful tool if you use it properly.
Well put. Thank you very much. Yes. It goes to the point of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is doubt is necessary to triangulate and come to a perfect source of knowledge. Phil?
I apologise. I was just about to write something down. What was the meaning of Siddhanta again, just in short? Siddhanta?
Siddhanta means to have clarity of knowledge.
Okay.
Siddh, the root word siddh, means to perfect something. So to have a perfected understanding of who you are and what your relationship is with the world and with your source. Siddhanta. So that's it's from a famous verse. It was written in Bengali. It says, Siddhanta bolya chitanakar alash iha hoite Krishna lagid sudrid manash. Translated, it means that it says, don't be lazy about investigating who you are. Alash means to be lazy. And so Siddhanta bolya chitta nakar alash means use your intelligence to investigate about the ultimate purpose of your life. And then it says that when you come to clarity about that, then surid manash means the mind, then your mind becomes very determined because you know where you're going and you know why you're going there. And if you don't have that, then you can just be subjected to any of the whims of the mind. So you should train your mind in Siddhanta. Are you going to be calling on people, Jam? Or should I just...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Nam Chintan, go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I really liked your answer to Shubhanga Prabhu's question about the states of consciousness. I had a question that when someone's aware of this knowledge that they've come to learn about the different modes of nature, but maybe they have, and maybe they're even practicing the spiritual path, doing sadhana. But if they have a mental condition that pulls them down, like they have a certain way of thinking, or they may have a mental disorder of some type, and they're not always able to act in line with their conviction in their practice. Is that a manifestation of the modes of nature, having a mental disorder? Is that the modes of nature taking over the lower modes?
Well, from an absolute perspective, everything in the world is combination permutations of modes of nature. So when we get a body in this world, it's a combination of various modes of nature. So, for instance, a squirrel is born with an innate tendency because of the configuration of the modes of nature to be squirrely. Squirrels are squirrely, and they climb trees and they chase other squirrels and they hide nuts in the ground. If you try to make a beaver a pet, and this is true because I saw YouTube about it, so it must be true. Somebody made a beaver a pet, and the beaver chewed up all the furniture and tried to make dams in the house. They can't help it. They're conditioned in that way. So there are different conditions that we take on from our activities in the last life, and we get a body that may have various kinds of anomalies, and those are some kind of manifestation of the modes of material nature. But it's very practical that there's a way that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. We should take care of body, mind, and soul. So just because we're not our bodies doesn't mean neglect the body or the mind. And if there's a remedy to be achieved to help make one more steady in the practice of devotional service, then such a remedy is recommended so that we can balance out whatever kind of anomalies there are. Sherelle.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I'd just like to add that's where Ayurveda can be really helpful, like learning your unique dosha and then keeping that in balance. Because I've had like a lot of mental health stuff and I've got high vata, so being able to balance that out with grounding food and yeah, it's really helpful having an Ayurvedic practitioner in your team.
Yeah, probably especially helpful to have one in your house or to be one yourself.
Yeah, or on your
Yeah,
bookshelf. Krishna appears in many ways.
yeah, and the Vedic system emphasizes balance in all ways. For instance, varnashrama, it's a system of organizing society so everyone has the best chance possible to develop themselves. And that's a recognition that there are various combinations and permutations of modes of nature, and people have proclivities. Kind of like in a university when there are education counselors, or they call them guidance counselors, where they're trained to talk to students and find out what they might be best studying in order to um, be in something that they're good at and that they like. And so I'm just saying the Vedic system attends to all of the various ways in which we're connected with the world. And the Varnashrama shows us at different times of our life to be in a certain environment so you can be balanced. And the Ayurveda is there to help balance the various energy levels of the body. So all of it is meant so that we can come to the perfection of life, which is to purify our consciousness and be aware of who we are. So it requires a holistic effort. Thank you, Sherelle. We know who to call when we need a little bit of balancing of our doses. Rikesh.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the beautiful class. As I understand, so based off your class, so there is descending knowledge through scriptures that is perfect, but is it encouraged to critically look at how the Shastra can be applied in different situations, or will that, so when in doubt, should I look through the lens of Shastra? Should I get it clarified by a more realized devotee? So how do I look at applications in a given situation when I'm in doubt?
Well, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that that's what is going on. It's a dialogue.
Mhm.
Arjuna is in doubt. he's in doubt about his whole life. Up to that very point, when he's entering into the battle of Kurukshetra, he was very sure of himself. But then he comes to a crossroads where he feels that he may be doing the opposite of what he should be doing. And he's doubtful about everything. And in fact, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is sometimes, the title is translated as the Yoga of Despair. That's kind of interesting. So you should open a yoga place and call it the Yoga of Despair. See if you get any customers. So why is it, we said doubt is a doorway, despair, similar. Arjuna is in despair, and then he takes his doubts to Krishna. And he says, Krishna, who happens to be right there with him, and he says, okay, let's not act like friends anymore. I'm just going to become your student, and you tell me like how should I act properly? And that starts the dialogue in the Bhagavad Gita. And then every chapter, Arjuna is expressing various doubts in the form of questions. What about this? What about that? Why did you say, you said the path is through knowledge, so why are you recommending work? Or are you saying you should cease work, and now you're saying you should work? What are you trying to say here? So again and again, he's expressing doubts. So this is the system. You come to a place where you can trust the knowledge. You have to have axiomatic truth, or a place that you trust, just like you have to have a doctor you can trust. When I was in London recently, and I was supposed to be speaking at this convention called Rise, and I lost my voice the night before I was supposed to be speaking. I just had nothing. Nothing would come out. So I had to be there for 2 days in my hotel room, and people kept bringing me medicine. I had 12 different kinds of medicine on my shelf, and everyone said, "Yeah, just take this; it'll knock it out." Knock it out in a minute. And just goes to show we're always looking for remedies, and people have remedies. You have to discern where you're going to get your medicine from and trust the source. This we find with Socrates. He talked about the birth of philosophy there, that there has to be an axiomatic source for knowledge. Otherwise, you get what's called infinite regress. So let's just say I claim that water boils at 200 degrees. And then you say, prove it. So I get a thermometer and I put it in the water, and then it hits 200 degrees and the boiling starts. And you say, there you go. And then you say, wait a minute, prove that's a real thermometer. So then I go get a thermometer testing kit, whatever that is, and I test the thermometer. And then you say, well, wait a minute, prove that's a real thermometer testing kit. So, I mean, if you go through university and you question every axiom that's put up, why is that an axiom? You can't do geometry because you have to start with an axiomatic point and then prove for X. So there's a similar way in which, yes, we doubt, but then you come to the source of knowledge by doubting and understanding how it could be axiomatic, or at least you start testing it by asking questions and then having the person remove your doubts. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, the version that my teacher translated and gave commentary to, in his introduction, he says, when you read this book, suspend disbelief while you're reading it, just for now, and just accept that it's coming from an axiomatic source. And if you approach it in that mood, he says, then you'll be able to derive the full benefit. So you can doubt various things, but it's meant to triangulate, to bring you to the point where you can open your mind and then test it and see if your doubts are removed. And you know when your doubts are removed because you begin to see for yourself, and the knowledge becomes more and more clear. And you also, for instance, when you take medicine that comes from a good source, the right source, you'll notice that the disease is diminishing, and then you get more encouragement that, yes, this is the correct thing. So all those factors play into the entrance into the practice and accepting a knowledge source. Well, that was a mouthful.
I just want to take a moment and share the great detective work Denise has done. She said, I think that the beaver was Canadian.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's good to know. Those, is that because it was, yeah, what's the reason it was Canadian?
Well, actually, I was making a joke because you were talking about the beaver chewing up the house. And because you're trying to get your Canadian citizenship proof, I said that the beaver was Canadian.
Yeah, but I don't believe a Canadian beaver would be so destructive.
Oh, and some good news on the you're trying to get Canadian citizenship. So if your mother's born in Canada, you are Canadian. You just have to get your passport. That's it.
I know, I'm working on it. I looked it up on ChatGPT today and started filling out the form. I don't think I'm moving or anything. I just thought it'd be cool to have an extra passport. You never know.
Never know, you might want to use it on international travel just in case.
Yeah, that's right. Options. Well, it just shows how ephemeral our identity is. You say, I'm an American, and it's like, no, I'm Canadian. We're always morphing into something else, except for who we actually are beyond the body. Well, today was a pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining from different continents around the world. Thanks, Dion, for being here for the first time. And great to see you all. I think we'll sign off with the signature way in which the yogis high in the Himalayas, when they see one another on the paths, there's craggly areas there of intense rock, but some of it settles down into pathways, and they walk in those pathways in their bare feet, and they go back to their caves. But every once in a while, they glimpse another yogi. And in order to express their appreciation, they have this saying, Hari Bol. They put their arms high in the air. It releases all the spiritual energy from their hearts, and they say this phrase, Hari Bol. Maybe we'll try it before we go. Subhadra, what do you think?
Yes.
Okay, Hari Bol.
Haribol!
Haribol!